and welcome to this Advanced Performance Webcast. My name's Nick Bishop and joining me today is my colleague John Bullock.
Hello there.
Hi John. Today we're going to be talking about raising the bar. So what's going to happen? We're going to talk about the whys, the whats and the hows. We'll take your questions as we go through as well. So just check at the bottom of your control panel and you should see a small icon there. Push your questions to us and we'll pick them up as we go through. We always like to finish with 5 key points for you to take away, and that's going to be just the same today as well. And also follow-up questions, things you may think of, ideas for us or future webcasts. We're here to help. Our address is at the end, but it's also, take it down now, inspiration@advanced-performance.co.uk. Okay, John, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Nick, and welcome everybody. The first thing we'd like to do today is to get you guys doing a little bit of thinking for us as well as we go through this webcast. So the question there is, what does raising the bar mean for you? So what does raising the bar mean for you, people listening? Now, on your little control panel, you've got a place where you can ask questions and put comments. If you go to that, you can send us some comments. So if you could kindly do that as we go through the webcast, that would be fantastic. So what does raising the bar mean for you? Fantastic. We'll get started then, shall we?
Great.
So let's talk about the why then. We're going to talk about why raising the bar is important. Why is it important to raise the bar? Okay. The first slide, some of our listeners will recognize here, and it's the top half of one of our models called the human tree. It's a cognitive behavioral model, and we talk about aiming to be at our best behavior all of the time. It comes from our thinking, but we've got a 0 to 100%, and it talks about aiming to be at our best. Well,
just hold on there, John. Are you telling me that some people would not want to be at their best during any one day?
It sounds ludicrous, but yeah, when I've asked the question before, how often should we aim to be at our best? I have had answers like 50%, 80%.
Steady on.
Well, the key thing for me is if you're going to aim for 80% of your best, then you're never going to get to 81. So for me, definitely, we have to aim to get 100%. We don't always get there. There are things that drag us down and all this kind of stuff, but if we get up and we aim to be our best,
I think the key here is, John, is aiming, isn't it?
Yeah,
giving it your best shot.
Word. Yeah, absolutely. And this gives us one of the reasons of why we should try and raise the bar. If we aim to be at our best, then other people around it expect us. Let me give you an example of this, Nick. It's a great little slide, this is. Just want you to look at that pilot there. Okay, it looks a bit dodgy, doesn't it? Yeah.
Straight away, John.
I want you to imagine you get on a plane and you're about to take off, and the pilot comes over the tannoy and says, make sure your tables are in the upright position. We're about to take off, but I'm going to aim to be about 60% of my best today.
Get me out of here, quick.
We'd get off the plane, wouldn't we? Because we want the pilot to be aiming for 100%. We need them there to fly the plane, don't we? And of course, you've got some other industries. You want your teachers to aim to be at the best. You want your bus drivers with your children in it to aim to be at your best. Quite interestingly, the dentist one, as you can see
John,
over there.
I've got an appointment next week. I'm not having this, man, please.
Well, absolutely. And do you know what? Half my filling fell out as well this weekend, so that I've got to go back to the dentist, which is quite interesting. But one of my old colleagues had a friend that went to the dentist for root canal surgery, nonetheless. And he was scared of the dentist anyway. And as the dentist was getting the needle ready to numb his gum, she knocked something over behind him and said to her assistant, I don't know what's up with me. I'm all at 6s and 7s today.
Oh, shocker.
Can you imagine what?
I'm in the chair. I'm waiting.
You'd kind of go, do you know what? I'll come back when you're a 10, wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? So
I'll come back another time, thanks.
Absolutely. So another reason why we should raise the bar, we should aim to be our best for other people around us. Let me ask you this question, Nick. Are you married?
I am.
Okay. Well, that means you're in a contract.
I certainly am.
And I'm pretty sure when you got married...
I do debate it sometimes.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure when you got married, you told your wife to be all the 100% of Nick. How great Nick can be.
I certainly told her to be.
Yeah. So you kind of let me ask you another question.
Okay.
Nick. Do you have children?
3.
Okay. Well, they didn't ask to be born.
They certainly
did they?
No,
So we should be at our best.
Responsibility. I got a responsibility.
Yeah. We should aim to be at our best for our children as well, didn't we? Also, For all those people that work for other people, that have got contracts that they've signed when they go into work, when they sit in an interview, I'll guarantee you, they tell their interviewer what they're like when they're absolutely at their best.
I know, but it's also, when you talk about contracts, it's like companies expect SLAs and KPIs, but actually you would expect to deliver the very best all the time without figures.
Absolutely, because we don't sit in an interview and go, this is my CV, this is how great I am, but I'm only going to do it some of the time. We don't do that, do we? The other reason is this. There's a couple of numbers I want to give you now, Nick. Okay. The first is the number 1, as you can see there.
Right.
If I said to you, we all have one of these, we all get one go at this, what do you think I might be talking about?
One life.
It is one life. As far as I'm aware, that is, Nick, anyway.
Well,
we all get one time round at it, okay? So if we get one go at it, there's no rehearsal. Surely we kind of want to get the best one go at it that we want.
It's not just one life. It's one day. It's 1 hour. It's everything.
Absolutely,
it's all the
1
time,
minute.
John.
Well, that leads perfectly onto my next slide, Nick, actually.
Right.
So now you've seen the one life. What do you think the 30,000, if I say to you, we all get an average of 30,000 of these, what do you think
I
it could
am
be?
going for probably days in life.
It is days in life. I did have a great answer to this the other day that said 30,000 opportunities, and I thought, actually, if you put that with days in life, it makes a great answer, doesn't it? 30,000
I'm getting
opportunities.
depressed, John. I'm working out where I am with 30,000.
Yeah, don't work on what you got left. That's not the point of what we're trying to say.
I'm going to try even harder now, John.
The key thing is here is if we only get 30,000 days, if you're miserable because you don't like a Monday, well, Nick, how many of them are a Monday?
1/7 of a week.
That's fantastic. Works for me, that math, yeah.
Simple.
The fact is I went into an organisation once and I saw a guy coming in and he was walking. It was a manufacturing organisation. He was walking across the shop floor and I said, "Morning, how are you?" And he went, "I'll be better when it's Friday." And it was Monday morning, Nick.
I think I'll wish my life away now,
yeah,
John.
Absolutely. So the key thing for me, we have average amount of days, 30,000 average, if we're lucky, really. So really what we need to do is
I'm going for 40,000.
I love
life, John. I love life.
Good target. What we need to do is make sure that we at least aim to be our best. But remember, Nick, aiming to be our best doesn't mean we always need lots of energy and things. We can do lots of things like be quiet and focused.
It's kind of like, it's almost like an Americanism, isn't it? Get my words out, Americanism, where we have to be a bit wacky, a bit zany. It's actually just aiming to be the best version of you possible every single day.
Absolutely. I had one person that actually, was trying to be a bit funny in the group when I said, "Give me a word that describes you at your best." And this person said asleep. and obviously he was trying to make a joke. And I actually took that as a learning point and said, actually, well, you tell me this, Nick. If you have a fantastic night's sleep,
Yep.
you sleep really well,
Yep.
you get up the next
Yep.
morning, how do you feel?
Refreshed, energized, raring to go. Bring on life.
Absolutely. But if it's been one of those nights where maybe you've checked your phone before bed or you've watched telly too late or whatever it may be and you don't have a great night's sleep, then you're not going to be in a great place the next day.
Take your point, John.
So we can aim to be at our best even when we're doing stuff that rests us as well, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not just this big shouty
Well,
lousy
it's almost a bit like if you go to a yoga class, which is relaxing and that kind of
Absolutely.
thing, but you'd want to do it properly. If you're going to turn up for that yoga class, do it properly.
Correct, absolutely. So last number to give you, 86,400. Now, if I was to give you 86,400 pennies every day, Nick, okay, I'll give you that. I'll put it in your bank. But what I'm not going to do, whatever you've not spent on making you or other people happy or successful, I'll take back out at the end of the day.
Been a big saver though, John.
I'll take it back out. But I'll give you another 86,400 pennies the next day. But there's no overdraft, Nick. What would you make sure you did every day?
I would make sure that I used every single penny I could.
You would, wouldn't you? And we get 86,400 seconds every day. So whatever when you go to sleep, you wipe them off if you like, and you get back up and start again. Now, that's not a lot of seconds to use, and we only get 30,000 opportunities to use that, and then we only get one life.
And there's a few hundred ticked over since we started.
Absolutely. So this is a reason for me why we should raise the bar, why we should aim to be at our best, because
makes sense, John.
We don't have a lot of time on the planet, do we, as it is? So let's make it useful.
And you know, wouldn't you just want to love your life anyway?
Absolutely, 100%. So we've got a couple of, let's just go on to the next slide, the 86,000 seconds. So what answers have we got? We've got some answers coming in here for what does raising the bar mean. We've got an answer here from Julie. Julie talks about raising the bar is about sometimes questioning the norm, which is what actually we're going to go on to in a moment, isn't it?
Very true, isn't it? Because sometimes to be your very best, you have to question how you do things.
Absolutely. And, sometimes we just don't question the norm. So question the norm and raise the bar. Somebody else has put on here, who is it? It's Neil. Neil has said it's about looking for that next step higher.
Yeah.
That one step higher. So there's some good stuff coming in here, guys. So thank you for
Footsteps
your
climbing Mount Everest.
Absolutely, absolutely. But before we move on, want to get you to do a little bit more thinking. So in your questions box, here's your next question. How do you raise the bar? So think about your work life, think about your home life. For everybody that's listening in today, think about the times where you've taken it to that next step. What is it that made you raise the bar? How do you raise the bar in your work opportunities?
And I think the key is here, John, is when you raise the bar, you do it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't just go to work 9 to 5. Oh, I can stop now. Stop raising the bar.
Absolutely.
Going home.
It needs to be a 24/7 way of thinking, doesn't it? So if you've raised the bar in the past, it'd be fantastic. Go to your questions box down there and put in your answers for us, and then we can bring some of them up. We just had one popped in from Lewis. Thank you for that, and we'll come back to those answers in a moment. So what we're going to do now is move on to what does raising the bar look like. Okay, so we've talked about why we should raise the bar. Let's talk about what it looks like. And there's a great picture here of Seb Coe there and Steve.
For my sins, I have run against Seb Coe twice. Lost twice, once on the track at Crystal Palace as a schoolboy, and once in the famous Frodsham Hill race, which is now banned because of health and safety. But he beat me both times.
Which actually I'm quite impressed with the fact that you've run with Seb Coe there. But I everybody was impressed. My dad used to say he used to come round the corner on that last turn and he'd just change gear. And he'd just shift and he'd move out.
The other thing, obviously, elite athletes will train twice a day. There used to be a story that on Christmas Day once, Coe was not lying in bed, he may have been lying in bed after a workout perhaps, and they were about to have planning Christmas Day lunch, and he thought, Vet might be training 3 times today. So he went out for a 3rd time on Christmas Day just to make sure he wasn't outdone by his competitor.
Absolutely, and that little edge of him raising the bar in that way just gave him that extra little bit of belief, which is quite key. We'll come on to later in the webcast as well. So, and of course, at the moment, it's quite apt, I suppose, having Seb Coe on there, isn't it? He's just achieved his goal of the presidency of the athletics governing body.
And that's interesting because that is a goal he's had for a long time. So it's kind of constantly looking to raise the bar. He's been focused on that for a long time now, and he's got there.
Absolutely, it's a great example. So this slide's quite good. There's a way to do it. If there's a better way to do it, find it. Now, the key thing here is how many, like that old saying, Nick, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, that's fine, but there might be a better way.
And undoubtedly there will be, because in life now, we're forever pushing the barriers further. It's like, will we run a sub 2-hour marathon? Why accept 2:02:58? It's like everything in life, in business and targets. Find a better way.
Absolutely. And of course, what you've got there is you've got Edison there, inventing the light bulb there. Yeah. Lots and thousands of times he couldn't get it to work. And he was actually criticised for saying he keeps failing, and he just said, I've failed 3,000 times to
Learning opportunities, weren't they?
Just to find a way it won't work, to be honest.
I'm glad he never gave up. Otherwise, we have the candle on now, John.
Absolutely. So for me, it's about this, and this is a great word. If there was a room 101, this has been one of the things I'd put in, this word mediocre. Sometimes we settle for the mediocrity, and we need to be going, how can we do it better? Who could possibly help us do it better? It's easy to be mediocre, and as the image there says, nobody remembers mediocre, do they?
No.
We need to raise that bar above mediocre. We need to ask ourselves questions. How can we do this better?
But I think you made a good point, John. It doesn't, while you have to own it, 100% it's you, but there's always someone there to help.
Absolutely, always, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So what we've got here, success is dependent on effort. So while we're talking about how we raise the bar here, is you've got to want it. You've got to want it enough to be able to get up and go, I'm not just going to be average or mediocre today, I'm going to raise the bar.
You know what, John, when I coach athletes, I can ask them to do certain things, and they'll sometimes say, I need to get better still. And I say, it's got to hurt. If you want to improve, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, and that's away from motivation, isn't it? And we know that we can a little bit towards motivation, a little bit of away from motivation. It goes a long way in order. It's like what it says there on the slide, isn't it? If you're not willing to put in the effort, don't expect anything in return. And how much do you want to constantly keep raising the bar? Because do you know what? it will annoy some people, the people that want to be average, the people that want to be mediocre.
But John, so how do you cope with them in the workplace? I mean, I'm the boss. Do we accept that that's a fact of life?
We don't accept it because it's about choices, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the webcast here. It's about choices. So how else can we look at raising the bar? This is a great slide that I like to talk about quite a lot when I talk about raising the bar. And what you can see there is we've got the individual in the middle, and the axes represent jobs or things that you're comfortable with doing, and they sit inside your comfort zone to start with. As you can see there, you've got a dotted line that just making that circle bigger. The representation that is making is if we push ourselves just slightly outside of our comfort zone on a regular basis, we learn to do something new, or we take a chance doing something that we might have not done before. What it starts to do is it starts to increase our comfort zone. It makes it bigger, so we build more confidence.
Irrespective of the activity, John, once you start pushing that comfort zone out, it will help you in many different disciplines.
Absolutely.
When my kids were younger, I used to do some football refereeing, but I used to watch youngsters 15, 16 learning the ropes as football refs, refereeing football matches. But what a great experience for them to be on a pitch, managing people and pushing outside their comfort zones.
Brilliant. And you're dead right. If you increase your comfort zone in one area of life, you will increase it in other areas of life. Now, as you will notice there, though, there's a great big X in the corner. Now, this is the only fear, the only danger with this model. Sometimes what we do, people think it's a bright idea to go, okay, well, let's throw somebody outside of their comfort zone. It's the sink or swim mentality, Nick. So let's push somebody in and sit there.
It's not good management, though.
It's not good management. It's not good leadership. More to the point, occasionally you will get somebody that swims, but not often to not, you'll get other people that won't go near water again. So actually, if you want to increase your comfort zone, and in order to raise the bar, to make yourself feel that better, to question mediocrity, just do it small steps at a time. Don't throw yourself in chunks. Bite-sized chunks, absolutely. This is a great slide. It shows you there, doesn't it? You know, your comfort zone's in the middle, and the magic happens just outside it. Yeah, because that's where we can start to question that mediocrity.
But of course,
piece.
People have got to have the drive to want to get there, because otherwise they stay within the circle.
Absolutely.
They've got to have sometimes it's external help. It could be the boss, the pals, the mother, the father, the sister, whoever. But again, it's them. They have to want it, but they have to want to push themselves outside there.
Without a doubt. And it's a nice place to be, a comfort zone. It feels comfortable, doesn't it? I mean, that's why we call it a comfort zone.
It can, but it can become a little bit boring.
Absolutely. And there's some words on here as well on this slide. You know, you can start to, if you're in your comfort zone all the time, you can get a little bit average. You can get a little bit mediocre. It can get a bit tired as well because of that. It's a little like lethargy.
Well, it comes back to everything. The job you do, is it only what you make it yourself?
Absolutely.
It might appear mundane, but hey, you can do things within that job to push your boundaries and make it more exciting.
You're going to get more fulfillment. You're going to build your belief. You know, if it's a target around wealth or success or whatever it is you want to do, if you keep questioning, well, how else? Who else? You keep questioning that stuff, you can make that comfort zone go a little bit wider and a little bit wider and a little bit wider, can't you know? Which is fantastic. This one is the key one for me if you want to be able to grow your comfort zone, okay? This is personal development. There's a lot of people sometimes I meet, Nick, where I kind of go, you know, has anybody been on a training course? Do you do courses in this business or whatever it may be? And the answer is no, they've not sent us on one. Now, for me, that's not an excuse, because it's personal responsibility time here, isn't it?
And if you read a lot of the articles either in the press or business journals now, John, people say that you are much more accountable for your own personal development than previously. You have to take responsibility. You'll get help from line management, but you personally have to take more responsibility for your career, because careers are so much more transient now. They change all the time.
Absolutely. Well, the study that I saw the other day, Nick, was by the time children that are being born now, by the time they're 30,
I know what you're going to say, John.
They would have had an average of 14 jobs.
They're also saying it's incredibly hard for teachers now because they don't even know the skills that are going to be needed 10 years down the line.
Absolutely, which is why it's even more important, not only about raising the bar, but in general, we take our own responsibility for our own personal development. But by doing that, it's the only way we learn to be able to keep it increasing the comfort zone that we've just been talking about. Because if you have more knowledge, you're able to raise the bar and do it a little bit better, quicker, faster.
Gives you confidence too.
Absolutely.
Knowledge is power, John.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. So I think about raising the bar in two different ways. Okay, the first way is generally some of the ways we've been discussing. Let's say there's a task or there's a process you can do better. You can make it slicker. You can lean it for those people.
Yeah.
You know, you can almost take the waste out of the process, should I say?
Can I just say, it almost sounds like the dull part of it.
Yeah, it is kind of like the dull part.
We don't like word processes, do we?
We don't know, because the bigger way of raising the bar for me is about the positive mental awareness. So all the time you catch yourself when you start to be average or mediocre.
And you know, in actual fact, that is probably the one with the greatest potential.
Massive. Because the test
what
and the
percentage
process
of our brain do we normally tend to use? Figures show it's frightening, John.
Very, very low. The potential connections between the neurons in the brain is very, very low, isn't it? But being aware of being average or mediocre, you know, because the process, once you've got the mental awareness, the processes become easy. You can put the processes in.
Well, you've got the right attitude.
Absolutely. And it does come back to that, doesn't it? It comes back to that word attitude. And it leads us on perfectly, because attitude is key here. And the biggest thing that we teach here, one of the biggest things we teach at Advance, is you choose your attitude.
You do.
You don't wake up with it. Now, it is based on some beliefs and things like that, and how you talk to yourself. And for those that have gone through any of our peak performance material, they'll understand that in depth.
But it's something you have to keep working at all the time. Just because you've done something, it doesn't stay like that. It's something you have to work on 24/7 all the time. It's a state of mind.
100%. It's not something to say I've got a good attitude one day, I've got a bad attitude the next. It's something you constantly.
And it's not the light bulb moment. You can't click your fingers and it happens, John. You work on it all the time.
It's self-discipline. It's working on it, and it's always making that question: how could we do this better? Is there a better way of doing it? And yes, I'm sure, you know, you don't want to ask that question all day, every day, because you wouldn't get anything done. I understand that. But there's key things to go, actually, can we get this a little bit better? Here's another word for you that drives me up the wall, Nick. Okay? This would be the second thing that I put into Room 101 after mediocre.
Do you watch that?
Okay, I do watch it, yeah. The reason, it's the word okay that I'm talking about.
Right.
Think back to the last time you had a meal out.
Saturday night.
Saturday night, okay, fantastic, okay. So I bet there was a lady or a gentleman that came up to you after you got your food, okay, and she came over, or he came over and said, you've got your food, is everything okay?
It happens all the time.
Well, first of all, you're eating, which really annoys me when people try and talk to you, but that's beside the point. Why would you want okay food? Sure, I'm pretty sure, because I know you like to go to nice places, Nick. You're probably going to pay a decent amount of money for where you were, okay. Surely you would want good or great food.
I would, but isn't this because some people are afraid of the wrong answer? So if you said, is your food outstanding, sir? Well, it's not quite that good today. They don't like the fear of someone saying something they find unpalatable.
Yeah, I think you could be right here. And it's a little bit of fear. But actually, do you know what? If we're constantly raising the bar, we don't need to be scared of new things.
And feedback we all need.
Absolutely. So actually, we don't want questions to be asked, are we okay? We want questions to be asked, is it great? Or how is your food even, rather than giving an okay? Because the word okay, this is where I learned the word okay, other than school and the definition of it's all right, it's okay. Yeah. When I learned to scuba dive, that sign there on that picture, okay, meant I'm surviving.
Never knew that.
I've got air.
That, John. Okay.
Basically, well, if we take that same analogy and put it into the real world, why do we just want to survive? We don't just want to survive. We want to be great. We want to be remarkable.
But for me, it all comes back. It's this attitude thing, John. It's this attitude. I want to be the best version of me possible, not I'm okay today. And it's kind of something you have to just learn to develop.
Without a doubt. So for me, that analogy of being okay, let's not use the word okay. Let's start looking for great and remarkable. Agreed. I like it. So then, how do you raise the bar? So we've got a couple of answers here that have come in, which have been fantastic. So Lewis, we've got, I'm coming away from the microphone. We've got question your current practice, reflecting on the past and the present performance. And that's about that questioning thing as well. So I'm glad that that's come in, Lewis. Thank you for that input. That's fantastic.
But I think what's interesting on this, I always say to people, at the end of the week, when you go home on a Friday night, don't beat yourself up about the one thing you got wrong, because most of the time you'll be great for 90% of the week. Pat yourself on the back. We just sometimes beat ourselves up too much. To keep it in proportion, John, too.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. And we've got something else that's come in as well on this question from Ian. I'm struggling just to understand. I don't know if there's a word missing, but I'm thinking it's getting at, don't put your ceiling on performance too low.
Yeah.
Aim for that bigger piece,
yeah.
which leads us perfectly into the next bit. So thank you for that contribution. That's fantastic. So let's finish off the webcast then. We've got here in the last 5 minutes with how can we raise the bar?
I think that's the key now.
Yeah.
I think we're all bought into it, John. I want to know more myself. Let's do it.
Okay, so how can we raise the bar? Point number 1, do something outside your comfort zone. We've talked about it. Go and learn something new.
What did you do this weekend, John?
Oof, what did I walked with my 11-year-old daughter. We climbed to the top of the O2 building in London.
Impressive.
Yeah. Now, if anybody's done anything better than this weekend, let me know.
Well, no, there's your starter for 10.
We did it for charity. We've been planning it for a long time, and we climbed to the top of the O2. That was certainly a little bit outside my comfort zone. It was higher than I thought it was going to be, but it was fantastic, and it felt great.
Adrenaline rush?
Absolutely brilliant, yeah. And the sights that you saw up there was fantastic. So to do something outside your comfort zone.
And I think the key, I use the word adrenaline there. Adrenaline's key. It's kind of nerves and excitement all rolled into one, and we need adrenaline to perform.
Yeah.
So to push your comfort zone outside that little bit, you pumped up the adrenaline. You need that to perform to the best of your ability.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 for me is ask better questions, because if you ask questions, the brain goes for an answer. Okay, so the questions are dead simple like this. How could we possibly do this better? It comes back to the point that Lewis made. That we've got, question what you're currently doing and how could we do it better.
I think that's probably one thing that many people don't do.
Absolutely.
And I'm guilty sometimes. I'm
well,
not
yeah,
saying
and we all,
all the
I think
time
we
even.
all are, aren't we? And it's just about doing it more regular,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
And saying, how can we do? The next one for me, who could possibly help you? There are 7 billion people on the planet, Nick, that we could ask.
Do you know what,
to do
John?
This.
There's a few people it may not be, but it's in virtually everyone's psyche, their innate kind of mentality. We like to help people, John.
We do.
We're afraid to say, can you do me a favour? I need some help.
Yeah.
Well, not many people say no, John.
Yeah.
Most will say, I'll give them a best shot.
Do you know,
try.
you're dead right. I have a goal. I use LinkedIn quite a lot, which is obviously the online CV kind of thing. And what I do is I try and find somebody once a week that I don't know, and I ask them a question about what they do. And hopefully they'll come back to me, A, link in with me, so I'm building relationships with them, and B, they answer the question, which increases my knowledge. Now, do you know what? 9 times out of 10, they come back to me, Nick. They come back to me. So the final thing that I would do is ask these questions, those 2 questions. I'd ask them every day, because generally we only get to ask those questions when things start going a bit wrong. And actually what we want to do is ask those questions daily. Okay?
Becomes a habit too.
Absolutely, without a doubt. There's a great quote here, Leonardo da Vinci. He who can copy can do. Now, they don't like this at school or university, Nick. I will give you that. But actually, in the real life, if you've got a problem in your business and somebody somewhere else in the world has had that problem and fixed it, surely you want to go and find them and ask them the question. And it comes back to that botheredness, doesn't it? It comes back to that attitude of asking the right question. Okay? So, obviously, what we've got here is we've got Bannister come up. Now, the reason I've put Bannister, most people know he broke the 4-minute mile barrier.
1954.
It was indeed
Oxford.
1954. The key thing that I've brought up here is because to increase your comfort zone and to raise the bar, you have to have the belief. And belief comes sometimes when we see it. Great people in the world, they have belief and make it happen. Nobody thought Bannister could believe it. Nobody believed it could be done until Bannister did it.
Sure.
But by the end of that year, there was hundreds of people that had done it once he broke it.
People's conditioning was changed.
Absolutely. So let's not cap what our belief is, okay? And finally, what I want us to talk about is aiming for success before we sum the webcast up for you, okay? And when I say aiming for success, I just think there's 3 general targets that we should go for in life. Not one, whether it's a business target or work target. We should go for the good standard. Now, that's minimum as far as I can, because we don't want to do okay, remember. We don't want to do mediocre. Let's go for good. Then we should aim for great. Now, that could be a 20% increase, okay? Then we should aim for remarkable. And remarkable might even be double. But I'll tell you now, if you start thinking and aiming for remarkable, I guarantee you will hit good and you will potentially hit great every time.
But you know what? This is where some managers, I think, go wrong, because they coach the poorer performers. But actually, the guy that's 120% a target on the sales target, coach him, and they'll get even better.
Yeah.
So we focus on everyone. It's about deciles. Raise the bar, 5-10% per individual, and the business will take off.
Absolutely. So put those 3 standards in. What's good? What does good look like? What does great look like? What does remarkable look like? Let's get that bigger picture in people's heads. Okay. And finally, This is a great book that we've just recommended for people here. If it's to be, it's up to me. It comes back to the personal
responsibility. You own it, John.
Absolutely.
You own it.
Nobody else is going to do it for you. It's got to come down to you. So that should leave us now in the last minute of the webcast with 5 key points. You want to take us through them, Nick?
Sure can, John. Aim to be your best 100% of the time and do it all of the time. Look for better ways. Don't accept the norm. Question mediocrity. We don't want to live there. Aim for remarkable thinking. Do amazing things. And take responsibility. You and you alone make it happen.
Those are 5 great key points to finish off the webcast then. So finally, Nick.
Okay, finally, if you want to book a place on the Peak Performance course that we run, it provides all the tools you need to raise the bar. You'll find all the information on our website. And a great read is Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, about an inspirational workplace. And of course, we're always here to help. We're always here to listen to your ideas about how we can help you in the future. You're all welcome. Contact information, inspiration@advanced-performance.co.uk. I think that sums it up. So for now, John, goodbye from me.